As a result of its temperate environment and verdant woodlands, Normandy has developed into an ideal sanctuary for a wide variety of animal species, including wild boars. Over the course of the past few years, their population has experienced a meteoric rise, reaching into the thousands. And today, we invite you to join us as we begin on an exciting search for wild boar in a hunting zone that is sanctioned by the government. We arrive in the woodland with the break of morning. The wild boars are most active during this time of day, which also happens to be the coolest time of day. The abrupt barking of hunting dogs pierces the serenity, which is an unambiguous indicator that the prey has revealed itself. This occurs after nearly half an hour of peaceful tracking. Quickly, we were able to assess the direction in which the boar was moving, lift our guns, and change our aim. Only one of them was able to escape, but before long the entire herd appeared, which was a moment that we could not afford to miss. Almost instantly, I pulled the trigger multiple times in rapid succession. Within a matter of seconds, the strong blast of gunfire was able to bring down one wild boar. As we proceeded with the task, we came across a second group of wild boars that were darting in and out of view, as if they were being pursued and desperately looking for a way around the situation. Immediately, I made the necessary adjustments to my scope, took a long breath, and slowed down my heartbeat. It was then when the gunfire boomed out, breaking the silence. It was impossible for the boar to survive a furious attack, despite the fact that they were quick and agile. Another boar suddenly charged out of the woods a few moments later. I maintained my composure and gave the trigger a light pull. There is one more target and one more shot. The sound of shooting caused the boars to flee the woodland in a panic, and they rushed out of the forest like a tsunami. However, what they were unaware of was the fact that we had already prepared an ambush in that particular direction. At the very moment when the moment arrived, a torrent of gunfire descended upon the area like a thunderstorm. In the midst of this vicious battle, a wild boar was struck and killed deep within the forest. During the time that I was peacefully lying in ambush, an unexpected event took place. First, there was only one pig that showed up. Then there were two, then there were three, and finally, a fourth one came in right behind them. Even though my heart was racing, I managed to keep my breathing under control and my aim solid. Over the course of a few brief seconds, I pulled the trigger one after the other, each shot being authoritative and conclusive. Efforts were made to quickly and thoroughly eliminate all four boars. Despite the fact that it was practically impossible to believe, it is a fact. For the rest of my life, this is without a doubt going to be a moment that I will constantly remember. When we were taking a break to recuperate, all of a sudden, a shadowy figure came crashing down on us. I didn't have time to consider because I was acting blindly on instinct. I brought my weapon to my shoulder and successively fired a number of shots. During that hectic moment, the bullets were able to hit their target, which resulted in us obtaining yet another trophy that we had worked so hard to achieve. Not only did we not have to wait for a very long time, but that successful shot provided us with the motivation to continue. Within a short period of time, an unexpected herd emerged from the thick woodland canopy. I brought my weapon up to my shoulder and took one of them down out there in the middle of the wilderness before they could disperse. Even the most insignificant sound emanating from the boars was noticeable in the strange silence of the ancient forest, and this was especially true when the boars moved in groups. I was holding my breath and keeping my rifle ready while I waited for the occasion to be just right. In a short amount of time, a barrage of gunfire ensued. However, this time, none of the bullets were successful. What were your thoughts on the exciting experience? Please leave a comment down below. Over the course of the previous 2 weeks, residents of a rural district in Turkey have been making consistent complaints about wild boars ruining their crops and even attacking their cattle during the night. There were numerous standard approaches that were tried, yet the issue continued to exist. When confronted with this critical circumstance, our hunting team collaborated with the locals to ensure that action was taken. From that point on, the search for these devastating invaders got underway. On this particular day, this would be our very first ambush. At that moment, we had barely gotten into position when the first black forms began to appear in the distance. The sound of the gunshot caused the boar to make a hasty retreat, crashing through the underbrush in an attempt to get away. After going through a few more rounds, it finally fell to the ground in the forest, and I couldn't help but rejoice in that moment. As soon as we achieved our first success, we immediately moved into position and made continual adjustments to our scopes. This was done since the herd moved in an unpredictable manner through the rugged terrain. The first shot was required to be taken from a large distance, which was a very difficult task. We were able to bring down a number of targets in the blink of an eye, however, since we were able to maintain perfect concentration and shoot with pinpoint accuracy. We had only walked a short way when all of a sudden, another shadow that was recognizable to us arrived. The instant it emerged from the thicket, it fired in a manner that was swift, clean, and accurate. There was another wild boar that shot out of nowhere not too far away. I did not move from my position. I secured a firm hold on the weapon, and I began firing. Regrettably, my initial attempt was unsuccessful. I was fortunate enough to find that my hunting companion had been waiting farther down the slope. The second boar was seen falling to the ground by another friend who was standing just next to us where we were. As a result of the loud barking of our hunting dogs, we were able to locate another boar that was concealed. This, however, would not be an easy one to defeat. It was able to sneak through the tight spaces and the thick vegetation. Despite the fact that our group began fire, the boar continued to maneuver through the foliage, leaving us behind, feeling disappointed and sad. As we made our way toward the pinnacle of the mountain, we continued to make our way over the rough and rocky trails. While we were looking at the terrain in front of us, we noticed a herd of boars charging downhill. Having made up our minds that we would not allow them to escape, we rapidly dispersed ourselves and shut off critical escape routes. As soon as the boars made their way down from the treetops, my friend and I began firing our weapons. Both of them collapsed nearly immediately, despite the frantic sprint that they were making. We had no doubt that there were further wild boars hidden in the vicinity. The group continued their hunt. Everyone was taken aback when all of a sudden, a massive boar emerged from the bushes as our dogs were pursuing it with great ferocity. This, however, was not your typical prey. Not only was it powerful, but it was also shockingly agile. One last surge, and then it crashed in the middle of the forest, bringing an end to an encounter that was extremely intense. What happened next was completely unexpected. From the thicket to our left, a guttural grunt echoed, deep, aggressive, and much closer than any of us anticipated. A massive wild boar, separated from the main herd, charged at full speed with alarming precision. This wasn't a panic-driven run. It was an intentional, targeted assault. In a split second, chaos broke out. One hunter barely had time to raise his rifle before the boar closed the gap. Another tried to shout a warning, but the sound was drowned out by the boar's thundering hooves and snapping branches. The animal slammed into one of our team members, knocking him off balance and leaving a deep gash across his leg with its tusks. It was a brutal reminder. Wild boars, especially older males, are not only smart and evasive, but also fiercely territorial and unpredictable when provoked or cornered. And once they decide to attack, there's little time to react. So how do you survive a wild boar attack? Experts advise that the first rule is never turn your back. Running may trigger the boar's instinct to chase, and with their short bursts of speed, up to 30 miles per hour, you won't outrun them in dense forest terrain. If you're unarmed, climb. A low branch or even a large boulder can give you critical seconds to reassess the situation. Stay upright and face the animal. If you have a long weapon like a rifle or stick, use it to keep distance. Shouting can sometimes confuse or startle the boar enough to make it veer away. If it charges and you can't escape, sidestepping at the last second may help avoid direct impact, though this requires calm nerves and perfect timing. Fortunately, in our case, the rest of the team reacted swiftly. One member fired a warning shot, while another took a flanking position and delivered a precise shot that brought the boar down just meters from the injured man. Quick medical attention followed, and though the wound was deep, he was stable and conscious, lucky to be alive. The atmosphere shifted after that. What began as an organized hunt turned into a tense, cautious pursuit. We moved with greater awareness, scanning not only for prey but for signs of aggression, fresh tracks, deep grunts, or broken saplings that hinted at a dominant male nearby. That day, we learned firsthand what many seasoned hunters already know. Wild boars are among the most dangerous animals in European forests. Their intelligence, physical power, and unpredictable behavior make every encounter a potential risk. But through it all, panic, adrenaline, and strategy, our respect for the wild deepened. These creatures, though destructive at times, are also a testament to nature's raw, untamed spirit. As we exited the forest at dusk, our injured companion joked, Next time I'm hunting from a tree stand." We laughed, but none of us forgot the lesson. In the wild, even the hunter must be prepared to become the hunted.